right, guys, the community has spoken. It seems like you guys really want a Caustic guide. And then in second place, you guys just wanted all the above. Before we get started, though, I want to just say thank you guys for the 1,000 subs. I was not expecting this channel to blow up so quickly. And it really makes me just enjoy making these videos, knowing that I have a community of people that really enjoy Caustic videos. And there's actually a bunch of people that play Caustic. I really did not expect so many people to be Caustic enjoyers. But anyway, yeah, thank you guys for the 1,000 subs. Let's get into it. All right, guys, so here are my stats. I'm showing these stats to show you guys that I'm not some kind of pro, I'm not some kind of god or anything by any means. I'm just a normal dude that plays probably a couple hours a day or every other day. And I got a lot of other stuff going on, like I do audio engineering as my main job, and I do other work as well. So that's why I consider myself probably a sweaty casual, because this is the only game I really do play when I do play games besides like Rocket League. I'll hop on for a couple hours and go really hard on here or whatnot. But yeah, I just want to show you guys that this is completely attainable and that you can be just a normal enjoyer of the game. You know what I mean? You don't have to be a pro to still have some skill at this game. So the main points I'm going to go over in this video are what guns I feel like are best with Caustic. I'm going to go over how to use his tactical, his gas traps. I'm going to go over a couple different methods I use with those gas traps. And then I'm going to go over his ult and his passive kind of at like the same time. And then after that, we're going to get into what I'm thinking when I approach fights, when I'm approaching areas where I hear fighting, what's going through my mind, what am I saying to teammates, that kind of thing, just to give you an idea of kind of where the thought pattern should be when you're getting into fights on Apex with Caustic. And then the last thing I'm going to go over is just key things every Caustic player should know before they even think about maining him or developing skills and advancing with him. But yeah, man, so with that being said, let's get into the guns. All right, so when it comes to guns with Caustic, I always tell people you need to have at least one weapon that is super close range. And this is because a lot of times you're going to be in buildings, in close quarters, and you need a gun that can just shred up and one clip someone, you know, like that's standing like 2 feet away from you. So I always say you need to have some kind of shotgun, some kind of SMG, or if you like the wingman or something like that, those are good close range guns. But I also say that it's smart to have one gun that's somewhat medium range. And this is because you never want to be just sitting in a building as a Caustic in a corner. So like when a team's running up to your building or they're running towards you, it's good to get some suppressed fire from a medium range gun first. So you get some people hurt, some people got a heal, you can break them down and create 1v1s out of it. And also like just helping your teammates. Imagine you have like a teammate that is a movement character and they get out of place or they overextend on a fight. It's nice to have a long range gun or medium range gun to be able to at least help while they're over there, because you're not going to be able to get to them most of the time. But yeah, so for me, my go-to guns are always the CAR, the R99, the R301, the Flatline, and the Volt. Those are all guns that every game you see me play, I'm going to have one of those in my hand no matter what. And also the Peacekeeper and the Wingman are probably like the runner-ups for me. And that's just because you got to be really precise with those guns. You can't afford to miss a bunch of shots with those guns. Close range action is really where Caustic shines. So definitely have close range guns when you're running Caustic. All right, now we're going to get into different methods with Caustic gas traps and just placement of the traps in general. The first method is what I like to call the enter/exit if you dare method. And this method basically is you'll have gas placement by a door, but not in the direct middle of the doorway. You'll have it to the side, so if someone walks in, they don't see it and it goes off and then they're kind of like stunned, you know what I mean? So what I'd like to do with this method is I'll place the gas traps by all the entry points to the doorways that have direct entry to me, and I'll pop out, you know, outside of the building. I'll come out and shoot people and then go back in and then come out and just play around my gases. So eventually you'll get someone that's going to follow or a third party that wants to come in. They'll come in through the door not thinking that there's a gas there. The gas goes off and that gives you a whole bunch of plays to make off that. One play to make off that is they come in, they don't see the gas, it goes off, they turn around and then they walk out of the doorway super slowly. That gives you a bunch of time to walk up behind them and shoot them while they're running, or to come out the other way because you know they're going to come out the other way and catch them on that side as well. This is the best method to use for when you're trying to lure people in or you're trying to set people up for plays. Now, when I place these gases, I like to place them on the side of the door that when the door opens, there's no door on that side that sticks out. It's just the door opens and then there's a open path, and then there's the gas on the side that the door doesn't open on. So that way, when someone comes to the door, the gas goes off immediately instead of them having to come all the way past the door that's open for the gas on the other side of the door to go off. Now, the second method I like to do with his traps is the chutes and ladders method. This method is, okay, so with this method, if there's a team fighting ahead of you, or there's a team ahead of you and you're running up, what I like to do is I'll throw a gas at a corner and then move up. And then if no one's there, I'll pick up that gas and chuck it to the next corner and move up. And then slowly, tactically move up to the team until we get to the point of contact. And then at that point, I already have gases set up. So I don't have to worry about having to replace traps. I already have gases set up. I can kind of fall back into my traps if I need to. And pretty much it just sets up like a little minefield as you're walking up to the team. And this is perfect for when you run up on a team and your team might not do too much damage, and then that team pushes you. When they push you, they're not expecting you to already have gas traps placed on different corners and pathways. So when they do push you, they run right into gas, and then that's the perfect time for your team to heal up and then come right back at them. And this is probably one of the more advanced ways to use his gas, just because it's a lot more tactical. Like you're taking sections as you move up to someone instead of sitting in a building. This is perfect for being more aggressive and understanding placement and position. The third method is what I like to call the holy shit, this is my last resort method. With this method, this is when all else fails, this is just what you have to go to. So say you go and you fight someone and you're fighting a team. Let's say you're fighting 2 people or something, and you get super damaged. You're like a couple shots from being dead. The best thing for you to do is get in a building and throw gases directly behind the doors and throw them behind all the doors on that building. This gives you enough time to heal because they have to kick down the door and they have to shoot your gas before they can go in it. That gives you enough time to heal and get another gas trap down before you have to worry about fighting. So there's been so many times where I'm fighting, I'm low on health, I throw gases behind the doors. There's a teammate on like each door trying to kick it down, and it literally separates all of them into 1v1s for me. And then I go to one door, one clip that guy, go to the other door, one clip that guy, play around the gas, and it allows so much time to get heals off and slow down the fight. That's the biggest thing with Caustic, is just the fact that he can control the pace of the fight. Like if you get hurt, that doesn't necessarily mean you're just open for free kills. Like you can set up shop super quickly and pull out the last resort method, gas up directly behind the doors and heal up, and then start slowly taking them out. The best way to use any of these methods is to use them all together in a game. You should never be using only one of these methods in a game, because if you're only using one of these methods, it probably means that you're not being active in the game or you're being too aggressive in the game. The best way to use this method is just incorporating all of them and using them together in unison. That's how you get the best results with Caustic and his gas traps. All right, so when it comes to Caustic's ult, you need to not focus on the damage and focus on zoning your teams. Okay, so what did I mean by zoning? What I mean by zoning is, okay, so say you get someone hurt and they get behind cover. And let's say they're not a movement character. Let's say they're like a seer or something, and they get hurt and they're behind cover. It's really nice to throw your gas behind that cover, because either they're gonna have to sit there and take that damage, or they're gonna have to move. And once they move, that's easy, super easy shots, super easy downs. That's probably the best way to use his ult, and that's probably the best way I ever use his ult, is getting someone hurt and then pushing them out of a position by throwing the gas and making them come out of cover. Another good way to use his ult is by, if you know a team is trapped, like say a team is in a building and the doors are covered and they can't get out, or they're in a corner that doesn't have any exits, throwing the gas is really nice, because they just run around and they're just flustered because there's nowhere to go, and then there's this gas all over them, and then that'll also drive them out of that spot, and then it's easy shots. So it's still zoning, but that one more does damage because of the fact that they have nowhere else to go, so they have to take the damage. And another good way to use his ult is, let's say a team has high ground on a certain position at the end of the game. It's really nice to throw his ult on the high ground or on their position, and a lot of times you'll get some to get flustered and they'll completely just drop off the position and give it up just because of the fact that the gas is up there. So that's another good way to use it as well. And lastly, to use his ult it's probably one of the best in-game ults, because if you're in final ring and you throw that ult down, there's no hiding from it. There's no getting away from the gas. Like, that gas is gonna affect them no matter what. And a lot of times at the end of the game, people's health, their regular health, is already low from ring damage or whatever's going on. That little bit of damage from Caustic gas is just so much. It's just so powerful, and there's no getting around it. So they have to deal with it. You know what I mean? That's probably his most effective time to ult, is just at end game circle when there's nowhere to go and it's time to get scrappy, close quarters. You throw that ult down and just get to it. Now, when it comes to Caustic's passive, I threw it in with this because really half the time his passive is non-existent. And this is because, and I just learned this recently. I've been playing Caustic for years, and I just learned this recently. But I guess when you throw a gas, or you have someone's in your gas but you're not in the gas with them, his passive doesn't come into effect. All you get to see is the damage numbers that they're taking from the gas. You don't actually get to see the outline of them or anything like that. I guess you have to be standing in the gas with the enemy in order for your passive to work. So what I say with that is, that's why it's good to use Caustic close quarters, because you're gonna want to be near your gas. Like, most of the time, if you're not near your gas as a Caustic, you're pretty much, it's like Crypto without his drone. Like, it's just you out there with no movement and basically a sitting duck. So that's why you should just be around his gas at all times and force a team to play your game instead of falling into other people's game and chasing people that have movement or anything like that. So now that we've gone through guns, his tactical, and his ult and passive, let's get into what you should be thinking when you're approaching fights, and what you should be talking about with your teammates as you're approaching fights. If I'm running towards a fight, I'm always looking for some kind of position that's going to be my safe haven. So say there's a team fighting in a building, but then there's a building next to that building. I'll tell my teammates, hey, yo, I'm about to gas that building up. That's going to be our safe haven if we ever need to retreat. And usually my teammates will be like, yep. And, we'll go get into a fight. And if we ever get hurt, that building's already gassed. And then we just drop back to that building and hold that building. Another example is, let's say there's a fight going on top of a building, but there's not any other buildings around. I'll tell my teammates, yo, I'm about to gas the second floor. That's going to be our safe haven. And then they'll be like, yep. And then we just run over, get into a fight. And if we need to back out, we can back out to the second floor, and we got that already gassed up. So the key with that is, you need to be looking at the environment and looking at what you can play as cover as you're running up to fights, and already thinking ahead to what you're going to use in order to stay alive and in order to protect your team and be most effective with Caustic. Another thing with Caustic too is he's not a movement character. So when you're running towards fights or things like that, it's good to try to establish position early. So like, if you have the option of taking the high ground, take the high ground. Now, when it comes to key things that every Caustic should just know before they plan on maining him or before they plan on advancing with him, you need to understand that Caustic's hitbox is huge, for one. For two, teams focus him at all times. Whenever they get the chance, they want to take out the Caustic. You should absolutely never be out in the open without a plan of action, without a plan of, all right, I'm running to this building, so that's why I'm out in the open. Like, I'm traversing an area to get somewhere else. You should never be just running around out in the open, or trying to take fights with people out in the open without a plan of how you're gonna get cover and how you're gonna put your gas traps down and own an area. You should never be just running around like that. Another thing you should know is that Caustic's worst enemy is another Caustic. And that's just because of the fact that the other Caustic can go through any Caustic gas without being affected. So let's say you're fighting another team and you have gas traps down and you go down, and your team thinks, oh, we can play off our teammates, our Caustic's gas and be safe. Well, that other Caustic is going to be able to come through the gas, and his passive is going to come into effect, and he's going to be able to not be affected by the gas at all. So he'll be able to use your own gas against your team. So that's why Caustic's biggest enemy is another Caustic. And then I'd say his second biggest enemy is just scan characters in general. Say you're playing around your gas and a team has a bloodhound and they're able to scan you while you're chilling in your gas and you think they can't see you, you will get beamed. So when you know it's a scan character, make sure you take that into account, that like, okay, this is a scan character. If I get scanned, I can't play so recklessly in my gas because they're going to be able to see me anyway. So another thing to take into consideration is, let's say you have movement character teammates. What I always tell other Caustic players is stay near your teammates that have movement abilities. This is because Let's say an Octane throws down his pad. You can follow him with that. You can use that ability to your advantage. Let's say your team has a Horizon and they want to take high ground. Take the high ground with them. Use that tactical. The only things that you're not going to be able to follow with movement characters are things like Valk's jetpack or Pathfinder's grapple and things of that nature. With that in mind, though, you should never let your teammates that are movement characters dictate how you have to play a fight, because at the end of the day, a lot of people that play movement characters, they overextend on fights because they have the movement. So a Valkyrie might get herself in a really bad position where you can't even get to her and heal her without making yourself super vulnerable. Or a Pathfinder might hit his grapple and grapple right into a team and go down. Like, there's nothing you can do about people that overextend. The best thing you can do is set up shop right next to where they went down at and try to fight off that team and play your game as close as possible to your teammates, so that way you can always be there to res if it becomes available, or you can always grab banner once they die. But yeah, man, this is pretty much all the information you need when it comes to Caustic. Once you internalize all this information and you start actually practicing it and you start actually going out, you really understand how you can be aggressive with Caustic but also play passive with him, and you start to slowly realize why he's one of the best defensive characters in the game. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It's been a lot of fun making this video. It's honestly just been so fun building this channel and having such a good community, strong community. Like, so many people I recognize on the daily commenting, and just, I don't know, it's just fun. It's been a fun experience. I'm glad you guys have been enjoying the videos. Remember to subscribe and join the family if you haven't already. And like this video, share with other people that might want to be Caustic mains one day, or other people that are, or you got any friends that have been contemplating wanting to play Caustic or anything like that. Make sure you share this with them, you know what I mean? But yeah, be on the lookout for future videos. I'll see you guys in the next one.